Welcome back to the YouTube channel. And today I have a special guest who I believe is inspirational within her community, and for females as well, especially for females. So welcome to the show, Tessa.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
No, it's not a problem, and you look very nice, by the way.
Thank you.
So obviously we've gone through all the rules and everybody knows we're not scripted. So just to confirm, we haven't scripted anything. You know that I have one question, which you know what the question is. And then at the end, you have a question for me. Yeah. Again, we do say this all the time. It's not for glamorization or anything like that. So anything like that, we'll cut out anyway, or I'll stop you before it gets a little bit too, because that's what we don't want to do. We don't want to turn it into a thing where it's glamorized or anything like that. So my first question is, who are you?
Oh, well, I knew you was going to ask me that question. Who am I? Okay, so I'm Tashai. I'm a mum of 3. We can get to that later.
Okay.
Born and raised in Leeds, Chapeltown. I'm chief exec of the Black Health Initiative charity. That's the charity that organises the Black Music Festival, which is the Sunday before the Carnival in Leeds. And I'm just a woman that's trying to navigate life, trying to kind of make sure I leave behind a bit of a legacy and make sure that I influence those around me the best way that I can. I
like that. That's a good start. Okay, so there's loads I can pick out from there now. So we'll start with family life, because obviously you said Chapeltown.
Yeah.
I'm guessing brothers and sisters.
Yep.
So was it? I'm going to put it in a sense of, so it was brothers and sisters. Was it mum and dad, brothers and sisters, and how was life like growing up?
So I had a really good childhood. I grew up in a family of 3 to begin with. So I've got an older brother, Cornell, myself, who's the second child, and a younger sister called Natalie. And it was us 3 for probably about 18 years until my little sister came along. There's like 17 years between us. And my mum was a single parent, but I did have a good relationship with my dad. My dad is a recording artist. So I grew up with my dad constantly on tour. He's a Rasta, grew up being part of 12 tribes of Judah. So grew up in a very proactive, pro-black household, very much about Marcus Garvey. My mum was a hard-working woman, still is today. And my dad has other children by other women. So I say that we grew up in a blended family because I know all my siblings. We grew up, so I've got siblings in Manchester, Oxford, and part of my childhood we'd spend summer holidays in Manchester, in Moss Side, with my 3 brothers there and my other sister. And then I have 3 brothers in Oxford who are younger than me. I would say that we didn't have much, but my mum definitely made sure she gave us all the things that we needed. And I had a very happy, loving childhood. I wouldn't say that there's much trauma. However, there are things that I have chosen to do things differently in terms of my own parenting with my children. Poverty plays a massive part on how it shapes you as an adult. We didn't grow up knowing what poverty was, but now I'm older, you realise, actually, there were struggles, financial struggles for my mum. I think raising 3-4 children on her own.
So I'm guessing you saw a lot growing up in Chapeltown.
Yeah,
that era. We're talking 80s, aren't we?
Yeah, in the 80s. Yeah, my mum really protected me and my sister from a lot of the nonsense that was happening in Chapeltown. Grew up on Francis Street, so Spencer Place was on our doorstep. I remember probably being around about 10. You'd see women on the street corners. You'd see characters, shall I say. Didn't really know what was going on, but my mum was very mindful. I don't want you walk in the streets. You're not allowed out on your own. My brother, who's 2-3 years older than me, I think my relationship with the police definitely had shaped the way I feel about the police force now, because I think my brother got into quite a bit of trouble when he was in his late teens.
So was that more within the community that you was in at the time as well?
Yeah.
Because obviously it was mainly black populated,
yeah.
wasn't it, in Chapel
Yeah.
Town? Okay. So we've got a little glimpse of how you saw it growing up. So talk to me about school. Because are you the era of primary, middle, high,
Yes.
or are you primary then high?
Middle. So I was in middle school as well.
Oh,
yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
right.
I
So
was
we're
in
ready
middle
now.
school, yeah.
So talk to me. So primary would have been until 9.
Yeah.
And then middle would have been till 13.
That's right.
Okay.
And then high school, yeah.
Right. So talk to me tell me how life was up until the end of middle school. So that would have been at the end of 13.
It was really good. For me personally, my mum just kept us busy. So I was involved in every after school activity. Anything that I could get involved in, my mum made sure I was a part of certain clubs. So in terms of being out on the streets, that was not my thing growing up.
So what primary school did you go to?
So I went to Leopold Primary School.
Okay.
Yeah, on Leopold Street.
And then your middle would have been at Cowper.
No, I went to St. Peter's. St. Peter's Middle School.
You'd have been my biggest rival.
Oh, no.
I went Shakespeare.
Ah, yeah. Right, okay,
So
there was beef between...
there was constant beefs.
Yeah.
But the funny thing about that, some people will watch it, is the weirdest thing about that was the kids that was in like the final years, because it was year 4 when you was in your final year middle, we knew them. Okay. So technically we would never fight because we knew each other, but then everybody else would.
Right, okay.
So, so primary school, you was at Leopold.
Yeah.
And then from there you go to St. Peter's.
St. Peter's.
Which is Catholic.
Oh, I can't remember. Yeah, I think it was. It was definitely a religious school.
St. Mary's. There's one. So one of the two was Catholic. Okay, so
I know we'd get caned. And I think the year when we started, when I started middle school, they just banned caning. You weren't allowed to.
Oh well, I still hold the school record.
Oh God.
I mean, it's closed down now, but I held it. I think mine was. I think it was something around 52 canes in 4 years.
Oh wow, that's. Can you imagine schools teachers doing that now?
Well, do you know the weird thing about it is you got the cane. There was other schools like Hare Hills Middle used to do the slipper. And I remember when they used to just chuck things.
Yeah.
Just throw things.
Yeah, get a ruler or...
Yeah, listen, these kids couldn't handle it now.
Yeah,
like,
it's a whole different ballgame. Yeah.
So, talk to me about middle school then.
I enjoyed middle school. I think now you're coming of age, aren't you? So now I'm getting a bit of freedom. My mum's allowing me to go to school on my own now. Had my own peer group. Like my childhood was quite sheltered. Okay. So I think... unlike some of my peer groups, I was really protected from seeing any nonsense, so to speak. But it was still going on.
And also you had the older brother as well.
I had my older brother, and that was a huge protection. And I've got lots of cousins, male cousins. So my brother was like, yeah, you're not going out. And if boys ever looked at us, he was like, don't look at my sister. So me and my other sister, we was like labelled, we was marked, you can't go near them, you can't talk to them, because, her brothers.
It makes me laugh though, because, and the reason why I'm thinking that is because when you look at it in that sense, most people go, well, that's a protection. However, does it not hinder you somewhat in the future?
No, I think you're right. It can do in some circumstances, but it was in some ways one of the best protections that I suppose me and my sister needed.
Having that big brother.
We did feel, at the time it was annoying and nobody would invite us anywhere and we weren't allowed anywhere, to be honest. But what it did is it protected us in terms of what we was exposed to, what we was, I suppose there was no grooming or anything like that because we was protected by my brother.
The weird thing about it is well, not that I'm glad you said that, but obviously the word grooming, it's used quite a lot now. But you yourself, and I know, being around Hare Hills and Chapel Town area, it was a lot of grooming. Yeah. And I remember being at school, in high school, and the older boys who could drive cars would be pulling up and picking girls up from the school. Yeah. Like, and I'm not saying it was right, I'm just saying it was kind of the not. Even the girls would speak about it, like, yeah, my boyfriend's got a...
Yeah.
It was like crazy. So we leave middle school. Which high school do we go to?
Allerton Grange. Yeah.
Same as me.
Allerton Grange High School,
I went
yeah.
Allerton Grange.
Yeah.
So you'd have been there with the billets then, won't you? With the science blocks outside.
Yes, yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah,
Have you
yeah.
seen it now?
Allerton
Have you
Grange.
seen Allerton Grange now?
I have, yeah. Yeah, it's
Wow.
completely, yes.
Wow.
Different, no more
So
sheds.
was you always down the bottom shops?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That was my only freedom, was really at school. So,
Do you know what it is? I'm going to say for the record, yeah, and you can vouch for this. Allerton Grange actually had a swimming pool.
yes, I used to swim in that swimming
But
pool.
we were never allowed in it, us.
Yeah, I used to swim for the school. I used to swim for the
Wow,
school.
okay.
Yeah, and then I started getting into my hair and stuff, and I was like, no, the chlorine is deadly for the fro. So dropped that out, and then I think they couldn't maintain the swimming pool
that's
anymore.
right, yeah,
So
yeah.
they knocked it down. Yeah,
Because the science blocks was outside.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I always remember when you was at the bottom shops, if you're stood outside the bottom shops facing Allerton Grange, the buses that went right took you to Hare Hills.
Yeah.
And the buses that went left took you to Chapeltown.
That's right, yeah.
So that's how it
Two
went.
different
Yeah,
directions,
two different
yeah.
directions.
Yeah.
Okay, so GCSEs?
Did good, did relatively good. I'm not going to lie, I'm not very good at maths.
Okay.
So failed maths, but all the other GCSEs, passed my GCSEs. I was a bit of a geek in school. I was a mixture of the cool girl that was still a geek. So I loved science. So I'd hang out with a lot of the nerds.
I was going to say, I was just about to say, are you sure you was not a nerd? Because you said you was a geek, but are you sure you weren't a nerd?
I think he was a bit more of a nerd then. I think the blend up, the geek nerds, they're the same. But yeah, I was very much into science, loved dancing. Don't know what happened years later. I think it's something that you need to practice. But yeah, loved dancing. So yes, I kind of blended with everyone. And because I was from Chapeltown, and there were many young people from Chapeltown at that school, we knew each other.
So was you the non-uniform era?
No, uniform.
All right, because I'm the non-uniform. So when we went out
Okay.
in Grange, you didn't have a uniform.
Oh no, we had uniform, full blazer,
Yeah,
ties.
we didn't have it.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
gone by. So it must have changed just after that. Although the bills were still like that. So what do you do then? Do you go sixth form, college?
No, so I went to college. Went to I think City Leeds, and I studied science. I think science and something else. Can't remember. Okay. But yeah, I went college and. I think at that time had my first love. So I got my first boyfriend, who was my good friend's cousin at the time. Went on to be my first child's father.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's a whole story. Thought it was the love of my life, as you do.
Yes.
Yeah, found out I was pregnant.
How old are you now?
I was 19.
Okay.
So I was 19. That was actually when I started university. So I went on to college, did science, A-levels, and then went to university, Leeds University. And in my first year, I thought I had worms. Okay. Just started drinking alcohol, now becoming, active with my boyfriend, a lady, in a committed relationship. And I remember mum saying, you better go on the pill, So I went on the pill, but no one told me how to take the pill. Okay. You just take your pill. Just take the pill every day. They didn't tell me if you don't take it roughly at the same time, it doesn't really work. Or if you're not well, if you've got a cold or your immune system's low, it doesn't work. If you're sick, it doesn't work. If you're hungover, it doesn't work. There's all these things that the nurses, the doctors didn't tell me, that actually taking the pill, there's a lot more responsibility.
Education's a lot further on now, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So then I'm now working in a call centre, studying, and I'm feeling something moving in my tummy. That's how far gone I was. Feeling something moving in my tummy, and I'm like, oh my God, I think I've got worms. And realise my tummy's getting a bit bloated. Thinking, it's the beer now that I'm drinking. This is what they mean about beer belly. Gone to the doctors. I think I've got worms. She's like, why do you think that? And I was like, because something's moving in my stomach and I can't control it. And she's feeling away. And she's like, nope, that's not a worm. That's something bigger than a worm. I need you to go get a scan. I was like, what's going on? Went and had a scan, and then they said to me, I'm 24 weeks pregnant. That's almost 6 months.
Wow.
I was like, what? And I was like, I'm on the pill, and I'm freaking out because now at that point, I'm this good girl.
I think what I will say, from listening to you, it sounds like what you're doing is you've actually got it mapped out, haven't you?
Yeah.
You've kind of got your life mapped out because you're going, right, what I'm going to do is
Yeah.
I'm going to go to university, but what I'm going to do is so I can earn money, I'm going to work in a call center.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got my boyfriend.
Yeah.
We're all right. Occasionally I can go out, but my head is in this university degree.
Absolutely.
And then all of a sudden,
bam. And I was very ambitious, always a bit of a hustler. My first job was when I was 13. I remember going to Burger King and giving them my brother's national insurance number. And I was about 13 at the time. And I gave them my brother's national insurance number, and I was working there on the evenings and on the weekends. And it lasted only 3 weeks because they wouldn't put me on the tills. They had me cleaning. And I was like, nope, if they don't put me on the tills, I'm leaving. And I left. But from that, I had the bug for working, and I'd always had like a little job or some kind of cleaning job or something. And then it was just devastating because I grew up with my mum saying, don't make the mistakes that I made. I was a young mum, I'm struggling with you guys, don't do it. And my mum was really serious about boys. We weren't allowed to have boyfriends. So my first boyfriend, it was only because he was friends with my brother. And my brother was like, no, he's a good guy. No, mum, she's old enough now to have a boyfriend.
He's giving the green light. Yeah.
And that's when my mum, bearing in mind, I'm like, I think 17 at the time when I started first dating him. And then, so 2 years later, to then find out that I'm pregnant, it was devastating. I lost my best friend because her mum was really upset that, I was pregnant, and he's like, your life's going to end now and you're going to amount to nothing. Is that typical? Your life's over. Now what I know now, I've realised that is nonsense. Your life is over when you don't have the support.
It's funny you should say that, because, I have daughters, as you know, and I always said to them, I've always said, look, get the career first.
Yes.
Get the career first. Don't concentrate so much on going into town.
Yeah.
Because town was there when your nana was alive.
Yeah.
It was there when your great grandma was alive. It's there when I was alive. It's not going nowhere.
Yeah.
You don't want to be going in town and get all tired and down or town out by 25.
Yeah.
Get to enjoy it. But I don't want to scare them, because I'm still supportive of any decisions that they make. However, as a father, it's kind of like, listen, look, university, GCSEs, university, get your job, and then once you've got that behind you, you've got the job, then think about that family.
Because there's a level of maturity as well that you want, and you want your children to experience life. And we know that children are, it's challenging having children. Financially as well, it's a huge commitment. But at the same time, I know for me, the best thing that I ever did in my life was be a mum to my first child, to all my children, but my daughter in particular. I always said to her that, like, you was already destined to be here.
Yeah.
Because the first thing I remember saying to the doctor is, I want an abortion. Give me an abortion.
Too far gone though.
Too far gone. There was like, you've got two options: one, keep, or put her up for adoption. And then I was just like, I can't do that. It is what it is. This is by God. And I remember I only had like a couple of months to get my head round being a mum. We were running around trying to figure out what we're going to do. By the way, my mum beat me.
Well, I was actually going to say, it was you had a few months to get your head around it. Yeah. I was thinking, well, actually, so did your family.
That's right.
Right.
My mum was, she just felt like...
Allegedly, she beat you.
Allegedly, yeah.
Yeah, allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly she did. But yeah, she was devastated, but she got over it. And then, I had the support from my mum. Shania's dad was amazing. However, he and I were still young. So my life now has changed dramatically. I'm now stuck in the house. I quit university because obviously I'm a mum now. And I'm piling on all this weight and I'm getting depressed while he's still living his best life.
Well, funny you should say that, because I often have conversations with people and you talk about relationships and you go, so boy, girl, in this scenario, and your attention is always on each other.
Yeah.
Love, likes, laugh, going out, sleeping, whatever it might be, everything is together. And then all of a sudden, this little thing comes.
Yeah.
And what happens is, as a mother, because I always say there's no greater love than a mother's love. I always say it. What happens then is your love goes here, your attention goes here, his attention, first child or whatever it might be, goes here. And what we do is we miss out this. You miss that bit, and people don't realise that how hard it is to maintain that,
gosh.
knowing that this is here.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lack of guidance as well.
Yeah.
I think as families and elders in our community, there's not enough discussions about how you navigate this new situation. It's very much, yeah, you've got to look after this kid, and yeah, you've got to put the kid first. And actually, there needs to be a bit more of a
Balance.
Yeah, and a bit more of a understanding that actually you need to put more effort into your relationship, and now you're going to be tested a little bit more, which, you know, it is challenging. But when you're young, you don't understand these things, I think, a lot of the time.
So that relationship breaks down.
That relationship broke down, and that's when I realised I don't want to be the person that's going to stay on benefits and got this one kid and just kind of be a statistic.
So how soon? So what is the difference? What's the age difference between your two kids?
10 years.
Oh, right.
10 years.
So quite a gap then.
A big gap.
Okay. So
I didn't want any more children. Didn't want any more children.
To be fair, I actually get that.
Yeah.
I can understand with the shock, horror of what's happened.
Yeah.
And obviously, I think there's also the bit which for yourself, and obviously you can correct me if I'm wrong, is the fact that you literally had to quit university.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So was that a situation where you went back into university, or
eventually I did, not straight away, eventually. So I started studying later on in life. I was just grafting. I was just like, okay, I'm going to work. I want to earn some money. I want to make sure I live in a nice house. I want to make sure my daughter's well looked after and she's well mannered.
Now a little dicky bird
Yeah.
tells me, because I don't research anybody,
Yeah.
and I've always said this, I don't research anybody because I think that our conversation is more authentic.
Yeah.
However, when you go to somebody, you go, oh, listen, I've got somebody coming on. They then go, oh, listen, did you know?
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you
I think I know what's coming next. Yeah.
There's a did you know moment. So where did the modelling come into it?
Yeah, well, I fell into modelling.
Was this after your first and before your second?
Yeah, this was after my first, that's right.
Okay.
So, like I said, I'm on this journey now of just living my best life, working, grafting, earning my money. I got my first real job, which was in an estate agency. I was working, selling some of the penthouse apartments now that were being built in Leeds City Centre.
Down the Coles.
I was literally at the Coles, that's where I was working. And one day, this fashion designer were renting out one of the penthouses, and he's coming and he was like, oh my God, you'd be perfect, my darling, you'd be perfect. I was like, perfect for what? And he was like, oh, you should model. I need you in my show tomorrow night. One of the girls have dropped out and I've got this whole collection and you'd be perfect. Let me see you walk. So I'm like strutting my stuff and I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to do this modelling thing. I was like, how much you pay you in? He was like, oh, I'll pay you 100 quid. And so I was like, all right, I'm in. I went and did my first fashion show. Now, I did bits of modelling as a child, but that was my first like fashion show as an adult. Loved it, really enjoyed it. It was a real fantastic opportunity. Fast forward, months had gone on, ended up doing odd random fashion shows, and then Britain's Next Top Model. They were advertising now.
I'm glad you said it, because this is where I was going.
Yeah.
I didn't want to say it, but
I knew that's where you were going.
Yeah.
I still get people up to this day now, like stopping me, like asking me for my autographs.
So how was that? That must have been, when you think of, when I'm thinking of a female growing up who is attractive, who is good looking, that has to be like, wow.
Yeah. You know what? All that glitters isn't gold.
Yeah.
It was quite traumatic, but it was also one of the best experiences of my life. So it's a double-edged sword. It just depends on your perspective. So, like I said, I fell into it. My mum was like, you'd be perfect on that show. You got a great personality, blah, 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 blah. I think you should do it. I applied for it, managed to get onto the show, which I was like gobsmacked by this. Ended up living in a house with 13 other girls. I was the oldest, or one of the eldest. I'd already had a kid, so there was, I think, one or two other girls had kids there. I was more bothered about stretch marks, I'll be honest, than I was about being a more curvaceous model. So bearing in mind, at that time, I was still a size 8. I was quite a bit smaller than what I am now.
Okay.
I was tiny, weighed probably about 10 stone. I was tiny, really, really skinny. And my weight was always a problem. It was constantly, every week, it was, you're so big, you're so big. And I was always a confident woman. I wouldn't say arrogant, very humble. I think I've got like the ugly girl, the ugly duckling syndrome.
Do you know what though? it's quite amazing that, because that's, how long ago was that? 20 years
Oh
ago?
God, it was, yeah, 20
Because
years.
what gets to me, and I hope you don't mind me, I won't go into the details, but we had a brief conversation and we were talking about camera,
Yeah.
which then springs to my mind and I go, that clearly has cut you deep for over 20 years, hasn't it?
Oh gosh, I don't think I'll ever, get over that. When someone is constantly telling you you're big, you're big, you're big, you're big, it really does do something to you. And also, if you think about the modelling industry 20 years ago, it wasn't as diverse as it is now.
Nowhere near.
No, right? We didn't really have plus size models. So when I entered modelling, we just started to see the rise of plus size.
Yeah, I think when you're saying plus size, I'm thinking the only person you're probably talking about there is probably Giselle, because they were talking about her chest was bigger than what usual.
Yeah.
So really, she wasn't a plus
She wasn't
size
a plus
model.
size, no.
She was plus size
That's
as in
right.
top heavy, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Because before that, it was like your Naomi Campbell,
That's
Claudia
right.
Schiffer.
Yeah,
I know my
yeah.
stuff, I know
Yeah,
my stuff.
good.
But then when it changed is when Giselle came on. So she was the Brazilian model. If
That's
you look her
right.
up, honestly.
Yes.
But she changed the landscape, because most people was not flat chested, but there might have been a B cup where she came out and she was like a C, D cup, and then it changed.
That's right. A bit more of a fuller woman, but even so, she was still tiny. Whereas now, when you look on, if you go online shopping, you'll now see, size 18 women modelling, showing, designers' clothes. So I had to deal with that. And then there's the stereotypes. They've always got to have the diva on these reality programs. And I always say to people, I didn't get on that show because of looks or the attributes of being a model. It was because of my personality. That was it. It was the fire that was in me. It's that northern.
It's that northern fire.
Yeah,
100%.
it is. Where it's like, I'm here. I don't care. Do you know what I mean? Whatever. Say it how it is. Not frightened to get into a confrontation.
The Yorkshire thing has always been, it is what it is.
Yeah. Exactly.
It is what it is. Like,
it is.
You either have the attitude of it is what it is, bring it.
Yeah.
Or it is what it is, take it. Take it or leave it. It is what it is.
Exactly. So doing that show for me, I didn't have any expectations. I didn't expect to win. I was just thankful to be there. My saving grace was that I was winning all the challenges most weeks. And so you'd get immunity. So if you won, they couldn't kick you out. And that's the only reason why I lasted.
So how far did you get?
I got to the final four, so semi-finals. Okay. And there's a bit of, what I will tell you is this. I always put in my contract with them that I will never get naked. That's one thing I said. I'm quite open for most things, but I'm a mum. I got 6 brothers. I got a whole heap of male cousins, and I got a dad. And I would never want them to see me in that light publicly. And I know once something is out there, you cannot get it back. So I always said, I will not get naked. Now, the day when they kicked me out, the day when I lost, I remember one of the producers coming up to me and saying, Tashai, if you get through to the next round, you do know that the next task is modelling with a male model, and you're going to be in a shower and you're going to be given the illusion that you're naked. You won't be naked, but you will be topless, and the pictures are going to look like you and him's in an embrace. And I was like, certainly not. There is no way. I'm not doing that.
So do you think you got kicked out
100%.
with them knowing that you was never going to do the next task?
100%. Because and they was like, what you do it? I mean, it could change your life. You could properly win it. This, that, and the other. And I was like, no.
Do you know what I'm thinking? Because as you speak, I'm thinking, and I go, if that was now, and you did Britain's Next Top Model, and with your character and how you are and how you was on the show, that would have opened up other avenues for you in this era that we're in now. But then it was a little bit difficult because you didn't really have the reality shows, did you?
That's right.
I think Big Brother was only like 15 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah. No, Big Brother was there because I actually did do Big Brother as well. Oh, that is another secret.
Wow.
I didn't actually do Big Brother. I was one of the testers. So what they do is, so you have the house, before they get the actual contestants to go and live in there, they get a random 12 people, however many people, and they get to live in there, and they trial out all the tasks and experiments, and the camera crew get to film, and you get to live in the house for 2 weeks.
Which Big Brother was that one then?
Oh gosh, that was 2003, I think.
Oh wow.
2003 or
you
2002.
You did keep that quiet.
Yeah, I did. It got leaked to the press. So I was actually on standby. So when you're on standby, if someone leaves the Big Brother house, they'll bring in a new contestant. Well, I was one of those contestants that was on standby.
So I'm guessing you still only have the one child at that stage.
At that point, yeah, still only had the one child.
So we've done all the modelling.
Yeah.
We've done the secret.
Yeah,
Big Brother.
done bits of
Okay,
reality.
so
yeah.
then where are we going now? So we've come back down to earth, haven't we, with a little bit of a bang.
Yeah.
Back to reality.
Back to reality. So this time modelling's drying up for me. They're trying to push me down glamour modelling, and I'm not that type of person. And I had to really reevaluate my life. Okay, well, this TV thing's not working out for me. This fashion is not working out for me. My thighs are getting broader. Everything's growing a bit bigger.
And you're conscious about this as well,
That's
aren't you?
very conscious about that.
Yeah.
So then I started studying, training to be a beautician. Moved to London. So now I'm with my second partner, which is my son's dad. He's from London, and ended up moving down to London with him. Took my daughter down there with me, and I'm at college and I'm studying to be a beautician. But I am realising one of my passions is funerals, and he's working in the funeral industry. Okay. And I lost my auntie when I was about 18, just before I had my daughter. And that was the first deceased that I ever saw. And she looked terrible, I'll be honest. She was grey and she looked terrible. And I remember getting her dressed and getting her ready and wrapping her hair in this head wrap and thinking, who's responsible for this? Why does she look like that? Who gets her ready and what is this? And I started realising there's an actual job and it's called an embalmer. So while I was doing this beauty work and I'm learning how to do makeup and wax and all the rest of it, I'm thinking, well, can't I do this on deceased? Why can't I do this on deceased? And then I got pregnant with my second child in London.
Seems like there's quite a reoccurrence of every time you get your life back on track kind of thing, and you've got a plan, you get pregnant.
Well, I keep saying the devil. Well, no, I'm blessed. I got blessed.
No, of course.
But no, I mean, my son is amazing, and me and his dad, we were married, and we decided, like, look, okay, come on, let's try for one more. Or try for one together because he's got other children. But if it doesn't happen, that's me done. And it did. It happened. And my son came along. That relationship didn't last. It's a long story, but we were together. We split up while I was in London. And that's when I realised I'm moving back up to Leeds.
Back to Yorkshire.
I'm coming back to Leeds, Yorkshire. I can't stay down in London. London's a very lonely place. Very lonely place, very expensive. And because my relationship wasn't as strong as I thought it could have been, should have been, I was like, I needed to be back where my family is. So I took my two children, came back up to Leeds. There were loads of different circumstances around it, but
again, we never need to go into them. Do you know what I mean? It's not with them. Look, it's like in every walk of life. Relationships break, some last, some don't.
Yeah.
The one thing that you do have from those two relationships is you have your beautiful children,
and they're wonderful.
And so you've got to have them. Yeah. Okay. So obviously back in Yorkshire now. Now I want to skip a bit. Yeah. Because what people won't know is that we're actually in the same building. Yeah. Our offices are in the same building. So you earlier on you spoke about I've actually forgotten them, but it covers, so it's what delivers the Black Music Festival. So that's right, the
Black Health Initiative.
How do you get into that? Because you wasn't the chief executive when you got into it, was it? It's not something, it was already established. Sorry, it wasn't established, but it was.
It was, well, yeah. So I used to work for Black Health Initiative 25 years ago. So when my daughter was probably about 1 or 2, that was one of my jobs. I was a receptionist there. So they were based in Chapeltown, always have been. Used to work there as a receptionist. Obviously, my career's gone on and done different things. So I've gone on and studied, got my master's in humanitarian and crisis disaster management. I'm a qualified embalmer in the funeral industry, and I've always had a relationship with that organisation. I've worked, so I've set up a CIC before, which was Team Creative, making carnival costumes, being involved in carnival. So I'd worked with Heather Nelson, that was the chief exec that sadly passed away, on joint projects. So when I heard that she'd passed, and prior to her passing, they'd lost the operational manager, Bridget, a lady called Bridget. I reached out to the organisation, to the charity, saying, look, you have to treat this like a disaster. You literally do, because as a charity, you need to make sure that the community is aware of your stance in the situation that you're in and that you've got it under control. You need to make sure your stakeholders are reassured that you've got someone appointed in senior management, because the receptionist or admin staff cannot make those strategic decisions like a chief exec would.
Is that because it's in your heart?
Yeah. And because there's very few black organisations in Chapeltown, in Leeds, that have got that sort of longevity, and BHI has, and it's been going for so long. I just felt like it would be a shame to lose such an important charity within
It's a foundation,
Leeds.
isn't it?
It is.
It's a bit of a foundation, especially if you're talking within the Chapeltown community.
That's right. That's right.
So you reach out to
I
him?
reached out and I said to him, this is what I would do if I was in your position. And I gave them this whole plan of how to look at it. And I just treat it like I do with my disaster work. So for example, I've done like plane crashes. So if there's a huge disaster that happens, people are impacted, there's loads of deceased, my job is to go into that country or that area and to try to bring some peace and normality and recover the deceased and bring them back home. So you've got to look at the economy. How is it going to affect the community economically? You have to look at transportation, you have to look at education, and you also have to look at the health of the people, whether it be mental health, well-being, etc. So I said, you need to treat it the same way. So, okay, you're going to look at your funds. Who's your biggest stakeholders? Who's your biggest finance? Who is it? Your grants.
Yeah.
Now, if you've lost the chief exec, where's this money? What's going to happen to this money? You now need to show these people that you've got it under control.
You have to make sure you're showing them that there's a captain still steering the ship, aren't you?
Exactly. Yeah. And a board can't do that because the board have their full-time jobs. Yeah. So you have to get this in. So I just basically told them what I'd do, and they was just very much like, why don't you apply for the job? Now, the challenge that we had with the charity is that you have to understand the complexities within Chapeltown. So you can't just have an outsider come and apply for that job, because they need to understand about how our community works. What's the demographic of the service users? What are some of the challenges? And then you've got the Black Music Festival, which is the annual project that the charity delivers every year. That in itself is complicated. So they was like, Tasha, you're perfect for the job. You have a relationship with BHI. You've already worked with BHI. We couldn't think of anybody else better to appoint. So I was like, oh, do I want to do this? And then I thought, okay, this is good for my portfolio. More than anything, I'm going to learn. Yeah. So then, I took on the job and I said, I'll do it for about 3 years and we'll reevaluate it. And my plan was to go in and make sure I lay some better foundations.
Yeah, and they can be built on.
That's right. And that if this, God forbid, ever was to happen again, there's a smooth transition to whoever would then come in.
But has it been longer than 3 years?
No, it's only been 2 years. So this is my second year now, so it's been 2 years.
Okay, and how's your time been?
Stressful.
Okay.
It's been amazing, but it's also, I'll be honest, I'm not even going to lie, it's difficult. It's the most difficult job that I've ever done in my life. And it's because of our challenges within our community and personalities and...
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because, again, we spoke a little bit off camera. Yeah. So I understand where you're going. So we have the charity with Chief Exec.
Yeah.
Now, earlier on, when you was speaking, you said you have 2 children. You said 3 children.
Yes, 3.
Right. So, because there's 2.
Yeah.
But I want to know where the hesitation comes in for 3.
Yeah, and sometimes it's my bad because I do forget in some ways. So I'm the carer of my nephew. So my older brother, unfortunately, he's just made some bad choices in his life. And it's impacted his life. He's an addict. And I get a phone call basically saying that there's a baby that's been born in the mix of addiction.
And are both parents?
Both parents, yeah. And baby's going to be removed from parents, and if no one in the family comes and gets him, it'll be a closed adoption because he's so young. So they basically removed him within the first 2 weeks. He was in hospital within the first 2 weeks withdrawing, basically. That's how they knew that there was issues with parents. So what do you do? I mean, for me, I was begging everybody else in the family that was
because you just brought up your children. You're 20 years down the line where you're like, listen, I finally, not kid free, but I can live my life now. And then all of a sudden, bang, you have a newborn.
I've got a newborn. So by the time we went through the whole paperwork and, was assessed and everything, he was probably 5 months when he came into my care. And that was 4 years ago. So for the past 4.5 years, he's been with me. And I'll be honest, I love him. He's my son.
Yeah, because I was going to say, it's kind of a double-edged sword, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it's the fact that you're looking at this innocent boy.
Yeah.
And in one hand, he actually is family.
Yes.
But he's not your child.
Yes.
But it's not his fault.
And it's not his fault.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I says to myself, there'll be, if I don't take him in, I need to be able to answer this question, that I'm frightened. I will have this little boy, which he won't be a little boy. He'll knock my door as a big grown man and say, Auntie, was I such a bad baby why no one could come and get me? And I said that I need to be able to answer that. I have to be able to answer that question. And because I didn't have an answer for it, I said, I have to take him. I said, I have to. My mum's too old. I said, it's not fair on her. She's retired now or due to retire this year. It would have been too much for her to take him in. My other sister, she had only had one kid that's grown up, and I had the spare room because my eldest had left home. So there's like lots of, there's a criteria that you have to meet.
There was a lot more pluses with you than what there was minuses. That's the best way to put it. Okay. So I often ask this question, and it does get the different answers as it comes along. So it's a two-part question. So if you could go back in time and change anything, one would be, what would it be? The second part is why.
Oh, that's such a, oh man. I don't think there's anything that I would change.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it, because anything that you would change earlier it might mean you might not have your children. Yeah. You wouldn't then now have your nephew.
That's right.
Which you will identify as your own son.
That's it.
So changing things is difficult, isn't it?
I mean, I always say now, what I know now, if I knew back then, I would have got more guidance with a financial advisor.
Okay.
Especially when I was modelling. There was money sometimes that came through my hands that just left straight away. Didn't know much about financial literacy. So in terms of saving, investments, those were some opportunities that we've missed because of lack of knowledge, education when it comes to that.
You've probably answered my next question then, because my next question was going to be, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Yeah, I would, the advice would be, the storm will pass, and people that are in your life are not always meant to stay in your life. They're there to either teach you, give yourself some grace. And I think a lot of us, especially the more ambitious we become, really hard on ourselves. So it's...
I've sat back because, again, there's none of it's rehearsed. But what sprung to my mind straight away is, because I just asked you what advice would you give your younger self, and you said that. But then I'm thinking, why would you not give yourself that advice now?
Yeah.
Only because, and I'll tell you why my comment is, and you're nodding, so I think you kind of get the gist, is because of something that happened to you 20 years ago. You've still held on to that now, from what I've identified just from speaking with you. So my question would be, why have you not given yourself that advice?
Yeah. It's hard because it's like you're going through the trenches every day, and sometimes you don't realise. So I've had therapy, I've had counselling for years. I'm a big believer in counselling because there's a lot of trauma that I think we all go through that we don't even realise is actually traumatic. We sometimes think if we haven't been abused, if we haven't been beaten, if we haven't got addiction in our life, we're fine. And actually some of the small challenges are sometimes quite traumatic in life. So I think a lot of the way I see myself is sometimes my worst enemy. I don't see myself the way other people see myself.
Yeah.
And that's something that I am trying to work on, still trying to work on. People see me as this really confident woman, like, oh, she's so confident and she's the boss. And I'm like, half the times I'm faking it to make it.
You know what was
Like-
funny? Because when I spoke to you on the phone, which really made me laugh, because you went, there's two sides to me, Carl. She went, you said, I'm either really busy and you can't get hold of me, and I went, you just laid on yourself, and you went, yeah, like I am now.
Yeah, that's it. Honestly, it's like one extreme to the other. So it's, there's a lot of work that we're all, well, for myself, that I'm trying to do and unlearn as well. And it's a work in progress. And I always say to people that everyone's got a story and everyone's got their own demons that they're kind of battling with. And what you see is not always what it is.
So, which leads me to my next question, is because most people will identify or see you as a strong black woman.
Yeah.
Yeah? You would agree with that?
Yeah.
Although they don't know what's going on mentally and what's going on behind closed doors. So that being said, what advice would you give to young black females or females in general?
In general, yeah. Be kind to yourself. Set boundaries very early on. Understand what your peace is and how you need to preserve your peace. If you've got clear boundaries from very young, it's easier to navigate through life because you're now going to filter through the toxic people that will appear in your life that can kind of make your life more difficult. So it's understand what healthy relationships look like. Understand that you're a work in progress and it's okay to make mistakes and it's okay to get things wrong, but it's important to learn from it. You make a mistake once, that's fine, but you keep making that same mistake, you are actually part of that problem.
No, I totally agree. And and just to jump back on the thing where you talk about counselling, that's something personally I'm going to start looking into.
Yeah.
I did see something which a little bit off topic, and I want to commend you if it is down to you, because I don't know if it is, because again, I don't research anything.
Yeah.
Now, I was seeing quite a few advertisements with young black kings.
Yes.
Is that correct? Have I got it right?
That's right.
So the young black kings, I've seen them on social media, and I thought, wow.
Yeah.
First of all, I think people aren't looking at the wording correctly. So whoever came up with the wording, I don't know who that is. It's a genius sentence.
Yeah.
It's a genius sentence. Is it you?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
So it's young kings on camera.
yes, but it's young black kings. The way you put that in a sentence globally, if you put that under umbrella,
Yeah.
how many people you're reaching?
I mean, that project...
Was that the purpose of that?
No, not really, not at all. So part of my job is to look at some of the problems and challenges within our community. It's the demographic of the service users prior to me were over 65s. Because we're looking at health.
Yeah.
I'm trying to come in and do more preventative work, which means we need to get into the minds of young people before they even needing high blood pressure tablets, before they're even making bad choices with food and all the rest of it. It's about preventing those illnesses when they're young, especially our mental health. So it's why we're not doing more young people's projects, why we're not actively engaging with our youths. And I've got a son, 16, and I thought that demographic is the hardest to reach because they're not accessing pretty much activities as such because they're too cool and too old for summer camps, etc. And I was like speaking to my son and I was saying, what is it that you lot are interested in? Like, what is it? And he was like, TikTok, we're always on the phone. And, that's how they're engaging. That's how they're communicating is this technology. And one of the things that I know with a lot of black youth, we're very creative. We are very, very creative people. So me and my colleague Rachel, we sat down and was like, what can we do on a real simple, small budget that we could deliver?
And can I just stop you? Rachel, by the way, what a fantastic singer.
Yes, she
Unbelievable.
She is.
Unbelievable singer.
She is.
I mean, I was quite impressed not so long ago when she used to say hello to me.
Oh,
honestly,
yeah.
she's an amazing singer.
She is. And she's an amazing person.
Yeah, I don't know her personally,
Yeah.
but as far as singing, she's absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and she's
So
an
sorry,
amazing.
go
No,
back- go
no,
back to you
I
saying.
respect that, and she's an amazing person, and it's been great working with Rachel as well. So she's operational manager at Black Health Initiative.
Oh,
Yeah, so
that's
she helps.
interesting.
Yeah, so she helps with all the projects.
Hmm.
So we was both sat down and was like, what can we do? And we're going to do a pilot. So this program was just a pilot. We were going to see how does it impact young people, and what do we have to do to make sure that we're doing something? So we put a call out. Is there any young boys between this age that would like to join this program? It's only 4 weeks in the summer holidays, and at the end of it, the idea is to train you to become influencers, social media content creators, and journalists.
Yeah, because when I started seeing him, I reached out to somebody. The same person that reached out to you.
Yes, yeah,
I reached out to him and I was like, I like these kids.
yeah.
And if I can help in a way, like bring them on and
Brilliant.
let them. He was like, he said to me, "You need to be careful though." So I was like, "Why?" He was like, "Boy, Tasha, he's got them wrapped in cotton wool. Like
Yeah.
she's proper protecting her." I was like,
really protective.
"Okay, I'll stay away." I thought, let me interview
Yeah.
Tasha first,
Yeah.
and then we'll go down that road.
It's-
I think they're absolutely brilliant.
They are, and it's been a project for us where it's like they are literally like my sons. It's been, and I think even they can feel the difference, and I think that's why representation matters. So I understand them because I have a son the same age. I understand their isms. We're from the community. We're from the same cultural background. So majority of the children are African Caribbean. And the way we kind of went on this project was, listen, this is an extension of my home. I'm not going to pretty up everything and talk to you like your teachers do. This is a real project.
Raw.
That's right. You're coming in. I need that commitment from you, but I'm going to teach you everything that I know. And I'm going to try to team you up with great people in the industry that can give you tangible skills. So the idea is that the boys will leave the project with real skills of interviewing people. So they can now independently do this and set up their own podcasts and set up their own interviewing, whatever it is that they do, social media content.
The social media, I think, because again, when you talk to the preventive work, because obviously, ourselves, we do a lot of preventative work, and most people always talk about early intervention and prevention starts in year 7, year 8, year 9. But it doesn't.
Yes.
It doesn't. It starts for us, we're saying year 5, year 6.
Yeah.
There's an argument for year 4, by the way.
Because they're developing still, I think. Yeah.
And again, I've been in schools where I'm talking to young children who are in year 5 that are 9, 10 years old. They're telling me they have 10,000 followers on TikTok or Instagram. And I'm trying to make it clear to them, like, you're not even old enough to have it. Like, so how can you possibly have...
That's right.
And people don't realise the one, and don't even get me started on the dark web.
Yeah.
I did a video on that. It's unbelievable. And I think for what you've done there with these young black kings, it's actually because people from their own community are now going to see them on social media. The people from their own community are going to actually see that they're doing good.
Yes.
And from people from their own community are actually going to be willing to speak to them, to ask them questions.
Well, this is what's happened. So now we're having people like yourself and other people that's now reaching out. Can we get them to do some content for our business? Can we invite them here?
Mine was to just boost them.
Yeah.
Because I liked their energy, because there was a little bit where I seen I think they was doing something and I saw them actually, funny enough, I saw them actually having a laugh.
Yeah.
That was more important to me than the seriousness of doing interviews.
Yeah.
I actually saw them actually having a laugh.
Yeah.
So, coming near the end here where I'm dreading your question, by the way. But, so my next question is, where do you see, so you're the chief exec, so where do you see that charity in 5 years? And then my next part is where do you want to be in 5 years?
Yeah. Well, in 5 years' time, I hope I'm on a yacht somewhere. Habibi.
I don't think you would be.
No, I won't.
We'll get to your side.
Yeah, I'm joking.
So,
in terms of the charity, I would like us to go national. I'd like us to deliver more work in different regions. I think the UK is relatively small. It's a very small island. And the communities are pretty much the same. When you look at Manchester, Leicester, Birmingham, we're the same. If we could build better relationships outside of Leeds and build a network that we can tap into, especially for our young people services that I'm wanting to roll out over the next few years. It would really put us in a really good position to be recognised as a more established charity. For the amount of years we've been going, you know, we should be rivaling your Oxfams and all the rest of it. But
Wow.
yeah, I'm very ambitious.
It's a strong position to be heading into, isn't it?
Yeah, that's definitely. So I'm already making relationships in like places like Sheffield, Bradford, Manchester, and this is where the Young Kings on Camera project will come into it. We're hoping that we can network and have different versions of that Zach project in different cities that we support. And
Well, we'll talk off camera because I can give you some contacts for Sheffield and Bradford.
Brilliant, yeah.
So I'll give you. Well, I mean, I'm saying we talk off camera, we're in the same building.
Yeah, exactly. So just pop down.
So what about yourself?
And then myself, I can't see myself still being at the charity in 5 years' time. I'm hoping that I get back to doing more in my international work. It was never a long-term plan for me being at BHI. It was more get it to where it needs to get to and then pass it on to someone else that hopefully...
Well, it's like what you said, is to build the foundation that can be built on.
It is. I'm just hoping that in 5 years' time that I'm on the next level, which would be more international work. I like to travel.
Yeah, and you are ambitious, aren't you?
I am.
I mean, how's the travel going to come now? You've got this new 4-year-old.
I will find a way.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
That's right. He will be on my back, wrapped
in the backpack.
In the backpack while I do it. But I just think you have to start by seeing yourself in that light, and wherever I go, until my nephew is old enough to live independently, he will be right by my side. My 2 children are old enough now. My daughter lives on her own, and my son has now started college in London. So he's down in London now, living with his dad and his dad's family because he wants to study down there. So it's just me and my nephew at the moment in Leeds. So I'm happy to just kind of see what the future lies, and he'll be with me. There's childcare everywhere.
Can I just say as well, and again, face value, but you do come across very happy.
I am.
And it's a hard, and do you know what it is? It's a hard thing to be in it.
Yeah.
People realise, people use it quite willy-nilly, that word, but it's very hard to actually
be happy. I am, you know, that's the funeral industry that's done that for me. When you have been around death constantly and you realise that, you know what, we all die, we're all on a slab somewhere, and we can't take anything with us, and all we have are these moments in life. And I'm so thankful that every day I get to wake up and I get to do it again. And I've just learned to appreciate the small things and be thankful that I'm in the position that I am. You know, I wish I was like Beyonce's best friend. I wish that I had, you know, the mullah in the bank, the mills covered in, but what I do have is amazing. I've got a roof over my head. I have healthy children. I'm healthy. So I choose to focus on the bits that I think is important, you know.
So that being said, is all because I always try to read in between the lines, because in between the lines, it doesn't sound like you're going down the road of relationship again.
Yeah. Relationship, men?
Yeah, as in a partner.
Yeah, I mean, I am seeing someone.
Okay.
And he's a wonderful man. I think it's really difficult when you've been married, divorced. I'm at an age now where I'm adamant, don't want no more children. Don't think I can, to be honest. And I know about boundaries, so I'm happy to move on. Like, I'm happy if it's not working out, I'm gone. But I believe in love, and I don't want to be single. I think I have too much to offer in a relationship, and I've learned a lot from the relationships that I've been in. However, do have boundaries.
There's my deep breath, so I think you know what's going on. So, let me just check this time. Gosh.
Your questions.
So it's over. You keep saying questions. It's not plural. It's a question. Let's see where we go.
Yeah, you know, the thing is, you've actually stolen my question that I was going to ask you.
Okay.
You kind of did. So the question that I actually prepared was, if you could have a conversation with the younger you, what would that conversation sound like? And at what point in your life would have you needed that conversation?
Okay, so I'll give you a second question then, to be fair. So the conversation I would have with my younger self, the problem that I had growing up is, so when I was growing up, I was an only child. My dad had kids,
Yeah.
other children, but in my house, just with my mum, I know the siblings till I was 21. My mum didn't have further kids till 21. The issue I had is I never had like the father figure or the big brother. So most things I dealt with myself. So most questions and answers I made myself. Majority of the time, they was wrong, but I had nobody else to talk to or to question. And I think with me is I had no fear, because the person that I feared the most and respected the most died when I was 7, which was my granddad.
Okay.
So from that, I didn't have it. And today I've never met another man like that man. So I think that, and I can't change anything, but I think maybe it would be to reach out and speak and ask questions. That would have been the thing, is to, and older, because there was older people around, but people that I believe would give the best advice, I would go to them and ask them, because I didn't have that fear.
Yeah.
So I would never ask questions. I would just go, think it through in my head and go, this is the right decision. And then I just do it, which often turned out to be wrong.
Right. Okay. Okay. So that's wise. Wise. You've learned.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
So I've learned from that.
So
go
am
on,
I right to have another
Go on,
question?
yeah.
All right.
Only because we've cheated a little bit, and I stole the question from you.
Yeah, you do definitely still a question. So, what advice would you give young people in particular about how to navigate this system, this society, especially as being a man of colour?
See, that's dependent on the individual, first of all. It's always dependent on the individual. And I think sometimes, look, if you have somebody in your life that you truly love or that you truly respect, whether it be mother, father, grandparents, older brothers, somebody like that, if you believe that what you're about to do, they will be angry about it or they would be disappointed about it, then the chances are it's wrong. So therefore, you need to be mindful of the decisions that you make, of what people will think, not individuals, but the people that you love and respect.
Yes.
Because if you think in your mind, my mum's not going to be happy, or my dad, or my auntie, or my grandmother, then it's probably the wrong decision you're going to do. Now, what I also understand with the younger generation is, and I'll say it's manipulation of everything that's around, whether it be social media, whether it be TV, whether it be people within your community that you look up to as role models, but are not positive role models.
Yeah.
So what I would say is always search for the positive role model, because the positive role model will never do you wrong.
Yeah.
And what you can do then is you can improve on what that individual does. So you take his, like you said, you take his foundation and you build on that. Because there is some good people out there. There genuinely is some good, don't get me wrong, there's some people out there that come across as good people. However, they're in for the money.
Yeah.
Now, what I would say is what you see with them on the outset, take that. Because the other part you won't know about, and build on that foundation.
Yeah.
I think it's difficult within society that we live in now, because it's more of a, it's this in an instant.
Quick.
Everything's instant. And I've always said to people now, and again, such for yourself now, especially with what you've done recently with those individuals, I think you may never see the success what that's done. How, and I'll explain why. Is because there's somebody now, there's a young kid who may be 11, 12 years old that has been watching those young boys today. You never met him. You might never know him. And he might grow up, because he was inspired by them, he's now going to go on, or she is going to go on and do something else. And that is your success, and you may never see it. So I always express that to people. Look, success is not always what you see.
Yeah. And it looks different for everyone as well.
For individuals, it's different.
Yeah, no, that's really good. Yeah. I mean, that project, like I said, I'm so passionate about that project.
That's
and
brilliant.
The feedback has been, we've got a waiting list now of like 20,
I can imagine.
20 plus other boys.
I can absolutely imagine.
Yeah.
I can see it.
And they're good lads. They're really good. Good parents have done so well with them. But you, like what we were always saying to them, that you're always one situation from a crisis or from a real bad incident. And society at the moment, for our black boys in particular, there's no grace for them. It's very unforgiving. The school system, the legal system, one mistake sometimes can steer in a completely different direction.
Yeah, it can, and I think because again, with our organisation, we are an organisation who do it from a lived experience model.
Yes.
So I'm not saying it's beneficial for us as an organisation, because now when these young people hear our story, as bad as it sounds, they are attracted to that story. So therefore, we're able to draw them in.
Yeah.
Once we draw them in, we can then turn around and go, but however, what about this, and this? What about all the things I had to go through to get to this stage here? What I'm saying to you now is, you can skip all that and get to this stage now.
Learn from my mistakes. Don't make them.
Don't make them. And that's the beauty of it. And again, there's going to be some young people, and I often say, who are not ready to change.
Yeah.
I get that, and we can't neglect them or negate around them. But what I'll say to them is look, store what I'm telling you, store the knowledge. Yeah. Because when the time comes, and you go, he was fucking right.
Yeah.
You're already a couple of steps ahead.
That's right.
So that's right. That's what we try.
But we do have to make space for our young people, and that's something that I'm really passionate about now. Even like with the Black Music Festival, we've made so many changes, which I'm getting it in the neck.
Yeah.
I'm getting it in the neck. And I'm trying to get people to understand the changes that we're making is so that the young people have an investment in that weekend, and that they get to carry on with it. If we don't create space for them, why are they going to care about that weekend?
Do you know the problem we often have? And I've said this to someone the other day is, do you not remember that you was young once?
Exactly.
Because I remember going around from the carnival and doing when it used to do the full one.
Yeah.
All the way up arrows and then around the road all the way around. I remember so do you not remember being young? And that's the question I often say to the older generation. Do you not remember being young? Yeah. Because if you do, then you're going to go, do you know what?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Because
I don't like the situation now. However, I do get it.
Music has changed, and the young people today are going to be you in 40 years. And if we don't create, like I said, this space for them and make them be included, and they see that there's they have a part in that weekend, especially on the Sunday, then it's not going to last. It's not going to last.
I think also, and again, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but again, because we spoke previously about people don't realise that these events are, and the carnivals, they are a police operation. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think by
run by the council.
So I'm guessing by you doing it the way that you're doing it now, you're actually protecting a community, because you say, well, look, let's not separate you, but let's bring you away from that part. Yeah. So then the operation can be done and dealt with a lot easier and calmer, and therefore there can't be no confusion between it.
Absolutely.
But again, you're always going to come across red tape.
Yes.
You're always going to come across people that are...
Yeah, and people don't like change, unfortunately. And I have always been a risk taker. Even with all the different jobs that I've done, like, I'm not frightened to kind of take a risk. What's the worst that can happen? That's my sort of attitude. What's the worst that can happen?
You know, my thing, I've always said a closed mouth will never get fed.
Exactly. So you've got to kind of stand on, I'm going to try. And if I get it wrong, we go back to the way things were last year or whatever.
Put your hand up.
Put your hand, that's right. Yeah. But we have to try, and we can't keep doing things the same. We have to be more compliant. We have to make sure we've got a proper good process, which is protecting and governing the funds, making sure that there's transparency, making sure that every penny that we get is going back into that event. And that's one of the things that I've said. I refuse to work with people that are coming with their empty pockets and wanting us to pay them for a community event that you should want to be involved in. You know that we're struggling financially. You know that people, for some reason, refuse to donate even £1. I said, if everybody that came into that park donated £1, put it back into that event, we could have Vibes Cartel.
Well, do you know, I mean, what's weird, or what people don't realise is it's the oldest carnival in England.
Oldest.
Like, we're older than London.
Yeah.
They don't realise. People just don't understand.
No.
Like, I had a conversation with someone, like, sorry? I was like, yeah, it was before London, kind of. This big thing you hear about London, Leeds was first.
That's right. Yeah.
Know your history.
Yeah.
We're first.
Yeah.
So pour that money into it, because London I know, obviously it's a major city, but share the wealth.
But their councils invest more in that weekend because they understand it brings in billions. Well, not billions, it brings in millions. Yeah. And it's the same thing with Leeds. Economically, it brings in millions of pounds into the community in Leeds. If you think about people travelling up and down the country to come to it, they're catching trains, they're catching taxis, booking hotels. Most of us are going out and getting a new outfit.
Yeah.
you
Getting
know,
his nails done.
Getting nails done. You know, like, it all adds up, and that's all over that weekend.
And let's not forget about people that are coming in to sell food.
Oh my gosh. People just rocking up on the street corners, mate, and selling. And, you know, our street parties go until 2:00 in the morning. London finishes at 7 p.m, sorry. So we've got it really good up in Leeds at the moment for that weekend. I'm just trying to make sure that, God forbid, there's a contingency plan. If we was to lose it, can we take that model and take it somewhere else? Can we turn it into an event where people will pay for tickets? Not in Potter Newton Park. It's impossible. We could never enforce it. We would never enforce it.
But you see, you can extend that to Leeds Arena.
Exactly. Yeah. But you know what? I mean, there was a hoo-ha because I've said to the community, we would like everybody to register for tickets. Free tickets. But we need that data. We need to know who's coming in that park, who's coming in the area, because we need to build our mailing list. We need a mailing list. We don't know 10 people officially that's in that park.
Yeah, but can I just say as well, and again, because of the CIC, the charity for us is, I totally agree with you. Because if you go to the council and other supporters and you say, look, on data, this is the data that we've got. We know that over 100,000 people are in Potter Newton Park over the 2 days.
Yeah,
they're only the people that are registered. So you can only, people don't realise that helps you to give more to the community. And I think that's probably the best advert you could actually put out there, where you're saying, look, we're not going to use your data. No, the data's not going to the police. All we want is, we just need that data to turn around and say, look, this is how many people have come. Yeah. And even if you then go, as an argument, I'm not saying it works that way, because it works a little bit different. Even if you go, right, okay, we would like 62 pence per person. And that's pennies, let's be honest, because you can't even buy a drink at the carnival for 50p. No. So you could go to whoever it is and you say, right, we would like 62 pence per person that we can identify of coming in that park. Yeah. You can actually give that money back to the community.
Thank you.
And that's not even talking about the people that haven't registered. You're just saying,
thank you,
on paper, these are the people that are registered, and we can say that over 100,000 coming, we would like 62 pence or 50 pence. Yeah. People work out the maths. We would like 50 pence per person. Yeah. People don't realise the significance of the data, how important it is.
Everything is data. You know, and there's all these conspiracies. Oh my God, they want to steal my data.
No,
it's like,
do you know what
from
it
when
is?
you're on social media, your data's out there.
I mean, TikTok alone,
everything,
TikTok's got sold to China, so I won't worry about it.
Exactly. And it's like, you're not thinking logically. No. We struggle to attract sponsorship because we can't prove with factual information that we have the amount of people that we're claiming are coming through that park over that weekend. So when Ray and Nephew, for example, saying, oh, well, how many people come? We say, oh, roughly about 80,000 just on the Sunday if it's a nice hot day. Okay, but where's the proof? Where's the evidence?
100%.
We've got no evidence.
And I get that, because, and what people don't realise, as a charity, you are...
That's right.
Not saying you are always asked, but 9 times out of 10, you are asked for data.
I have a report afterwards, which I'm working on now. I have to submit to our funders, which is Leeds City Council. I have to tell them everything, what's been spent, it's all been audited. Like, there's a whole report. How many people were disabled? How many people from the LGBTQ plus community? There's this whole document that I have to try and figure out by photographs.
But you know, the problem that you've got is... Not that I'm going to say, I won't say specific areas, but what I'll say is you have other people and other organisations that not doing the same as you, but are doing certain things that don't prove any data and are saying, yeah, but this is what we do and we do it this way.
Yeah.
So when other people are coming in and you come in with a professional head on, you say, look, this is what we need. Most people talk and go, well, they don't do it.
Yes.
And they don't do it. And
Yeah.
but what they don't realise is they're not doing it properly.
No. It's also a very diverse event.
Yeah.
People, for when we go into sponsors, it looks like it's a black event, but it's actually not.
No. Oh no!
Actually, it's very diverse.
Yeah, it's very diverse. It has been for years.
Yeah.
People don't realise it has been for years.
But
it's just that the photographs that are taken are often of black people.
yeah, well, you see the melanin first, don't you? We kind of yeah.
But these are way how you can do it.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll talk off camera.
Yeah.
There's definitely a way I can do it.
Well, that's what we're working on. We're definitely working on bringing it to the 21st century, so to speak, and making sure, you know, we're even doing a huge project which we started on this year, because next year's our 40th anniversary, just for the Sunday, the Black Music Festival. And we've done a whole timeline. We've worked with a historian. These are the things that people are not aware of. We've done a whole timeline of the very first year it started, who was on the stage, who was involved. And we've managed to get the whole timeline and the evidence.
I'm thinking Wayne Wonder
Yeah,
was probably...
we've had them all. We've had Shaggy.
Yeah, Wayne Wonder was about 91, 92.
I'll have to look on the timeline.
There's Trilly U. There's quite a few that have been on the Sundays.
We've literally had so many names that have come through and graced our stages at Black Music Festival. It's amazing. And the whole history of that day, the Sunday, is so rich. So it's based off rebelliousness.
Yeah.
It's because Carnival, the Monday, they didn't want other genres of music being played on that weekend, but the sound systems were on the streets, and there were more and more Jamaicans and more people from the different islands that was like, nah, I'm not into soca, I want to listen to this. So now you had the sound man that would turn up and they would play on the streets, and then unfortunately someone had been murdered, and that's when the council, the police was like, no.
So that was 92.
No, it was before then. So it was in 1984, I think it was. 1984.
I remember the 92 one, which was the Manchester guy.
Yeah.
I remember that
one. Yeah. So this was way before then. This was when it first started. Like I said, it was on the streets for years before it went in the park. And it was in 1986, if I'm right. That's the first year because of the riots. The riots had happened. Yeah. And then they had this whole riot. And then they were protesting, and it was the day before Carnival, and they had the music. And that was really the birth. And obviously there's lots of different stories, and we're working with a historian, and we're interviewing people that was way back then that was involved. And we're trying to put a whole art exhibition, hopefully for our 40th, where we're showcasing the whole history of Black Music Festival. We've asked the community, send us in your pictures from the 80s when you first went to Black Music Festival and you're there with your clothes. We want to showcase that. Ask me if anybody sent in any pictures.
Wow.
So it looks like the whole art exhibition is going to be of me. Because I've got loads of pictures as a kid being at the Black Music Festival in prams. But we're going to push that, and we're going to keep asking the community to help us, because Carnival gets a lot of love. Everyone confuses the whole weekend and says it's Carnival, and that's
Is it a bugbear?
It's a massive bugbear. It's two completely different events.
It is, but I always call it Carnival.
Everyone calls it Carnival. Everyone, and I understand why, but unfortunately, that it is two completely different organisations that run the two different days.
You think they'll ever merge?
I've been asking. I really think we should. You know, past 2 years I've been speaking with the Carnival committee to it should be under one umbrella, Leeds Carnival weekend. But unfortunately, again, change. It might come. It might happen. Who knows?
Might not come in your tenure.
Or it might not come in my time. But I did want it to come under one, and let's just call it Leeds Carnival Weekender or Weekend, whatever. Everyone sees it as that. It's hard to. I said, let's have one sponsorship deck. We just pull it out as one umbrella, and if whatever money comes in, we just split it 50-50, or we negotiate. We figure out what money, whatever. We work out those. So there's things that if I had my own way, I would definitely do things slightly differently. But I have my own limitations, restrictions, and like you said, red tape. You got the council on one hand, you got the police on the other hand, you've got Carnival Committee, and then you've got us. And it's how do we all work together? And then you got the community's voices, and you got, we did it like this all these years ago. Unfortunately, it's under new management now, respectfully, and you need to allow me to be the professional that I am, understand that I've got so much passion for that weekend, full stop. It's an integral part of my growing up, and even now I want it to last for another 40 years. I'd love it to last.
Oh,
Tasha, we'll see.
Can I just say it's been absolutely brilliant?
I know, it's been, I told you I can talk, isn't it?
No, but it's been absolutely brilliant having you on.
Yeah. Oh,
And
thank you.
I do wish you all the success going forward.
Thank you so much.
And you are absolutely, you're doing a good job.
Oh, thank you. We try, you know, we just thank our blessings, just say every day for the little that we have and what we do, and yeah.
Definitely.
But definitely, I'd love to get the boys on.
I wish you all the success.
Oh, thank you. Same to you as well.
Well, thank you.
Keep doing your
I will do.
podcast.
Thank you. Take care.
Oh, you're welcome.